We're now going to create a quiz from our question bank. First, we'll start by going to the Add an Activity drop-down box and selecting the quiz option. At the Add a New Quiz screen, you need to type first a name for your quiz, Chapter 1 quiz, and then some instructions. I think I copied and pasted some. Just merely take the quiz and hit the Submit button. Now let's look at the parameters of the quiz. There's a lot of different things, so let's take a look here. Open the quiz and close the quiz. You may set quiz dates and times. I don't normally do that, so I'm not going to enable it because more than likely there's somebody that's absent or a fog delay or the quiz gets pushed back a day or something. You can set a time limit if you want to. Attempts allowed. Unlimited is fine if it's a practice quiz, but if it's the real deal and you're taking a grade, limit them to 1 attempt. The grading method is highest grade. The layout, the questions should be in order as shown on the edit screen, or do you want them shuffled? I tend to normally select the shuffle randomly option because students are sitting next to each other in computer screens at computers and they tend to look from screen to screen. Eyes tend to wander. This just prevents them from more than likely being at the same question at the same time. New page. Do you want every question on a new screen is basically what it's asking. Or do you want every 2 questions on a new page, every 3, and so on? Or do you never want it to change pages, put all the questions on one page? And that's the way I usually do mine unless it's a very long quiz. Question behavior, shuffle within questions. Yes, that's for questions such as A, B, C, D options. The A, B, C, Ds will be shuffled randomly. So again, kids from screen to screen will more than likely, even if they're on the same question, the answers will probably be in a different order. Now, one I want to be sure you notice, pay attention here, adaptive mode. If it is a practice quiz, adaptive mode is fine. But if it's a real quiz, you're taking a real score, say no. Adaptive mode allows the students to immediately see if they have answered correctly or not. And it then allows them to choose again. That's adaptive mode. For practice quizzes, again, adaptive mode's fine. A real quiz, don't do it that way. Say no to adaptive mode. Review options. Now, I normally, immediately after they take the quiz, I don't want them to see the answers, their scores, or anything because there's probably students that haven't taken the quiz yet. Plus, I haven't graded any manually essay questions, any manual grading questions. So I normally uncheck everything until everybody's taken the quiz, and then I'll come back to this screen and I'll check these all so they can see the responses, the answers, what they missed, their scores, and so forth. Display, this is more for somebody that's proctoring a quiz and they don't know the students, to show the student's picture so that they know the student sitting there is actually the student that is taking the quiz. I don't normally worry about that because I know my students. Decimal places and grades, I have no decimal places. I use whole numbers. And in question grades, the same thing, 0 decimal places. Again, you may do that and you may use that. Here's another thing I'd like to point out. The 2 things most important. The adaptive mode should be set to no for a real quiz and require a password. I usually set a password, and that way if students see the quiz and they click on it, they still can't get in if they don't know the password. And I don't make the passwords easy. If you forget what password you set, you can come to the screen, check mark unmask, and that is the password I just gave it, TV for me. Do not require network address. Leave this blank because it won't work in our particular server environment. Enforce delay between the first and second attempts. Now that's a good option if you have practice quizzes that maybe if they do very poorly on a first practice quiz, you may want them to go back and re-look at some information before they get a chance to take it again. And enforce delay between later attempts. Again, those are your options to enable or not. Overall feedback, if a student gets a 100%, what do you want to say to them? Great job, whatever. Then you have other grade boundaries that you can put in. If they get a 90%, an 80%, what kind of comments would you make to them? You need to study a little bit more, or what have you. So you may enter those. Those are optional. And then I will save and display. Now when I save and display, all I've done right now is set the parameters of the quiz, my options. Do I want them to see their scores, and do I want them shuffled and things like that? Now we actually have to put the questions on the quiz. When you click Save and Display, you will come to this screen right here where it's at the tab Editing Quiz. Now the first thing I want to do, it says select category over here, and the first thing I'm going to do is select my Chapter 1 category, which has 5 questions. Now that I'm in the Chapter 1 category and I have my Chapter 1 questions, I can now move them over with this arrow key. It says Add to Quiz. So right now you have an empty page of quiz questions. They've been developed, the questions have been developed, but they've not been added to this particular quiz. So one by one you can add them over here. Or notice these little selection boxes. You could check mark them right here, the ones that you want, and then you could add them all to the quiz at once. You also have a couple other options. You have an edit button where you may want to go back and add a few questions to this matching option, this matching question. You may want to reword it or anything like that, but you can edit the question right here. And then you have a little magnifying glass, which is the preview button that you can click. And if you're not quite sure, if you don't quite remember what that question was like, you can click the preview button and it will pop open a new window and show that to you. And here's a preview of the matching question. Match the color with the food item, and then they show you the question so you have a chance to look through it and see if you even need to edit it or if you want to include it in this quiz. Okay, again, we have no quizzes or no questions on this quiz, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 check marked. And again, I could enter them one by one over here, or I can just select the ones I want and click Add to Quiz. And there they are. And maximum grade is 10. The matching, because I had 5 in there, is actually worth 5 points. And then I have 2 points for this, so 7, 9, 10, 11. So my grade is actually 11, and I'm going to save that. And now I'm going to go back to the Moodle demo to show you that it is on the screen. And there is Chapter 1 quiz, and you notice what the icon looks like. It has a paper with a little check mark, so that is an assessment. In the next video, we will log in as Sally's student to actually take the quiz.